Sawasdee Cup. Dave Dow here, and I want to bring another teaching Muay Thai Kids moment. Since today is Teaching Kids Tuesday, so one thing I want to bring up to you Muay Thai gym owners and coaches out there: if you're not already doing rank testing, whether you do pajamas, t-shirts, or heaven forbid belts, and I have another video. I'll post a link below on why you really should have a ranking system for your kids program. I understand not wanting to do it for adults, but if you want to have a successful kids program, you really need to. So, and you really need to test. Now, I know a lot of BJJ schools that don't even test. I don't know about for kids. I've never taken a BJJ kids class or watched one. But I know a lot for adults, they may have ranks, but they don't necessarily do belt testing. Some do, but I know that's kind of not the norm in the industry. But for kids Muay Thai, you really need your rank testing. And you need to have, this is what's key. You need to make sure you have set criteria for whatever you're testing, whether you're teaching the different strikes, combinations, how to do plum, whatever you're testing them on. Footwork. You can't just say, oh, the footwork good was passed. So the quote unquote traditional martial arts came into this, and why a lot of them, a lot of other people call belt factories, start just promoting kids rather than actually testing and possibly failing them. They assume that when kids didn't pass, their parents would pull them out. That's not why they pull them. Let's say on a form, for an example. Little Johnny does it form and Sally does it form. And Johnny passes and Sally doesn't. Sally's parents asked the instructor, why didn't Sally pass? And he said, well, her form wasn't good enough, but from their non-objective eyes, they think she looks amazing. And so they don't understand why she didn't pass, and so they pull her out. Now, for instance, when our Muay Thai Kids program, and when I taught at a martial arts school, for every technique we had and have criteria, like for instance, you could do a point system, literally. That's kind of how I like to do it. In our Muay Thai Kids program, we do like hands up is a point. Proper stance is a point. And like out of each technique, like for instance, if you're doing round kicks, you gotta make sure the hip turns over, the bottom leg pivots with the heel 180 degrees, return in stance, a bunch of criteria. And if you're interested in like how I do criteria for testing, hit me up and say testing requirements or testing points. Let's do testing points in the comments if you want to know how the criteria, like how I add up points for testing. So every technique or combination, you literally have all the criteria. So when parents see, okay, Sally failed because she only got 3 out of the 10 points, and whereas Johnny scored 9 out of 10, they can actually see the actual point value and what Sally didn't do to pass. So that's why if you do testing on how to rank, you do that, you have very detailed criteria. One, so the kids know what to practice. And like just like when you take a test, you need to know what the test is on. Not just, okay, you got it, like for Muay Thai, you have to do your cross. If you don't know that you're going to be tested on hip, like pivoting your hip over, shifting of weight, rotation of the shoulder, all that type of stuff. Parents won't know that stuff. They'll think, oh, that looks good, because they don't know what a good cross is or a bad cross is unless they've trained themselves. And if your program's really small and they're just kids of your adult students, then that's not a big problem. But if you want to have a true kids program, one that like is self-sufficient and doesn't rely on your adult program to bring the kids in, then you need to have a well thought out, structured testing protocols. And there's 2 ways you can actually do testing. You can actually test in class, test and promote in class, like very little ceremony and pomp and circumstance. Or you can, on the weekend, do a big promotion, like you test during the week and do a big promotion. You can also do like a special testing and promotion thing. My problem with that is that when you do that, it takes up a lot of time, especially if you have a bigger school. I personally think that if you do the testing in class and then they do your graduation, whether they get the pajad, their belt, the t-shirt, whatever you do for ranking. That way they can bring friends and family in. And also, marketing wise, if you're smart, you can use that for friends that come to try to get them to enroll in your school. They also use that testing. The parents are really proud of their kid. They're going to tag all over social media, and just ask, could you tag the school in that as well? And it's free marketing. So those are all the reasons. But the big one is retention. Remember, when you're teaching kids, yes, the kid is the client. And I know a lot of hardcore martial artists, especially combat sports athletes, don't want to think of their students as clients, but they are. And if you're not doing it as a business, that's not a problem. But if you are running a gym as a business, you have to think it also as a business. I know a lot of people don't want to become a McDojo or whatever. And the usual, I'd say the best definition of McDojo is where people put the money above the teaching. So as long as you are giving $2 of value for every dollar you take in, you're not a McDojo. So don't worry about that. But remember, 2 clients. The kid is one and the parent is one. So one, for retention purposes, you need to have ranks. And that's in my other video. But you also can't give them away. And you need to have a systemized testing system so that not only do the kids know what they need to test in, they're going to hate it when they don't pass, especially the younger ones. They won't understand. But the key is to make sure the parents understand. Because also, remember, you're teaching Muay Thai, but you're also teaching them how to take tests and how to fail. We all know that you have to fail to succeed. So all these things I think are really important in a kid's Muay Thai program. Do proper testing. If you need help on setting up how to test your kids properly, as it said, if you want to just know how I do points for different techniques, just say Muay Thai points or testing points. Make sure anything with points in the comments, and I'll hit you up in a DM with how I do how I score tests. And if you have any other questions, like regarding to setting up testing, any of that, just ask me in the comments. I'd love to help. Cup and cup.